Meanwhile, General Kuribayashi had herded the remnants of the Iwo Jima garrison into a heavily fortified ravine which the Marines dubbed the Gorge. Major Yoshitaka Hori, who commanded the Chichijima radio station, later recalled, General Kuribayashi commanded his battle under candlelight without a single rest or sleep, day after day. Radio broadcasts, newspapers, and magazines from Japan encouraged him thoroughly, especially when the old and young men, boys and girls of his native place prayed to God for his victory. Marine General Graves Erskine sent Japanese-American Marines and captured Japanese soldiers to try to persuade Kuribayashi and his men to surrender. Meanwhile, Kuribayashi radioed to Major Hori. I have 400 men under my command. The enemy besieged us by firing and flame from their tanks. In particular, they are trying to approach the entrance of our cave with explosives. My men and officers are still fighting. The enemy's front lines are 300 meters from us, and they are attacking by tank firing. They advised us to surrender by loudspeaker, but we only laughed at this childish trick. The Japanese dug many deep tunnels, but they were never fully completed. Even so, they provided a strong defense against naval and air shelling. They even built a hospital underground. With preparations underway, Kuribayashi worked with the tactic of defense in depth, building numerous pillboxes for machine gunners and 13,000 yards of tunnels.
Hey, Butthead, what is this?
Just wait, something cool's gonna happen.
I think he's starting to like us.
Yeah. Money.
Doesn't get any better than this, Beavis.
Yep.
On the evening of March 23, 1945, Kuribayashi radioed a last message to Major Hori. All officers and men of Chichijima, goodbye from Iwo. Major Hori later recalled, I tried to communicate with him for 3 days after that, but in the end, I received no answer. Before this, Kuribayashi sent his farewell message to Imperial Headquarters accompanied by 3 traditional death poems in waka form. Both were, according to historian Kumiko Kakahashi, a subtle protest against the military command that so casually sent men out to die. General Kuribayashi had written, The battle is entering its final chapter. Since the enemy's landing, the gallant fighting of the men under my command has been such that even the gods would weep. In particular, I humbly rejoice in the fact that they have continued to fight bravely, though utterly empty-handed and ill-equipped against a land, sea, and air attack of a material superiority, such as surpasses the imagination. One after another, they are falling in the ceaseless and ferocious attacks of the enemy. For this reason, the situation has arisen whereby I must disappoint your expectations and yield this important place to the hands of the enemy. With humility and sincerity, I offer my repeated apologies. Our ammunition is gone and our water dried up. Now is the time for us to make the final counterattack and fight gallantly, conscious of the Emperor's favor, not begrudging our efforts, though they turn our bones to powder and pulverize our bodies. I believe that until the island is recaptured, the Emperor's domain will be eternally insecure. I therefore swear that even when I become a ghost, I shall look forward to turning the defeat of the Imperial army to victory. I stand now at the beginning of the end. At the same time as revealing my inmost feelings, I pray earnestly for the unfailing victory and security of the Empire. Farewell for all eternity. He closed the message with 3 waka poems as follows. Unable to complete this heavy task for our country, arrows and bullets all spent, so sad we fall. But unless I smite the enemy, my body cannot rot in the field. Yea, I shall be born again 7 times, and grasp the sword in my hand. When ugly weeds cover this island, my sole thought shall be the Imperial land. According to the official United States Marine Corps history, the Japanese attack on the early morning of March 26 was not a banzai charge, but an excellent plan aiming to cause maximum confusion and destruction. The assault climaxed in a hand-to-hand battle to the death between the men of both armies. The general's body could not be identified afterwards, for he had removed all officers' insignia in order to fight as a regular soldier. The U.S. declared Iwo Jima secure on March 26, 1945. After suffering 26,039 casualties. Only 1,083 of the 22,786 Japanese defenders survived to be captured. A small number of holdouts continued to remain at large, leaving their fortified caves at night in order to steal food from the American garrison. The last 2 holdouts, naval machine gunners Yamakaga Kufuku and Matsudo Linsoki, surrendered on January 6, 1949. For 33 days, the 109th fought on Iwo Jima, facing against tanks and heavy bombardments from the sea and the air. In the end, only 1,083 Japanese survived, with a mere 216 captured from the original 21,000 men during the battle. The other 867 Japanese soldiers came from other units. According to less credible sources, Kuribayashi is alleged to have committed seppuku at his headquarters in the gorge. The general's son, Taro Kuribayashi, interviewed several survivors of the Japanese garrison after the war. As a result, he believes that his father was killed in an artillery barrage during the final assault. According to Taro, my father had believed it shameful to have his body discovered by the enemy even after death, so he had previously asked his 2 soldiers to come along with him, one in front and the other behind, with a shovel in his hand. In case of his death, he had wanted him to bury his body there and then. It seems that my father and the soldiers were killed by shells, and he was buried at the foot of the tree in Chidori village, along the beach near Osaka Mountain. Afterwards, General Smith spent a whole day looking for his body to pay respects and perform a burial, but in vain. The exact circumstances of Kuribayashi's death remain a mystery. It is most likely he was killed in action in the early morning of March 26, 1945, while leading his surviving soldiers in a 3-pronged assault against sleeping Marines and Air Force ground crews. Kuribayashi and his men silently slashed tents, bayoneted sleeping men, and lobbed hand grenades. The rest held out hungry and alone in Iwo Jima's tunnels until the U.S. soldiers used explosives to clear the tunnels weeks later. According to Derek Wright, the name of General Kuribayashi has been accorded a place of honor in post-war Japanese history, alongside that other outstanding commander, Admiral Yamamoto. In his autobiography, Coral and Brass, Lieutenant General Howland Mad Smith paid him one of the highest tributes. Of all our adversaries in the Pacific, Kuribayashi was the most redoubtable. If you liked what you see, hit the subscribe button or share. Thank you. This has been EmersusTech.